Okay, so we've made a printout of the grid now, and actually we made it a little bit bigger, so we didn't have to zoom in so far, so hopefully this remains in focus. Okay, so now we're going to look at the probabilities. Okay, and I want you to go through this, I want you to go through the probabilities going through, just like you counted the paths in the last, one, just like you counted them here. And see if we can keep track of the probabilities all the way through. And remember, this is a slightly challenging exercise, so be careful.
Alright, so first off, from A, probability to get here is 1/2. Probability to get here is 1/2. And then we can go down the rows, the row and the column. And we know the probability to get here is 1/4. And then 1/8. And then 1/16. And here appears 1/4 and 1/8.
Okay.
So now we can kind of do the same thing we did with adding the numbers, except that we're going to add these together and we're going to divide by 2.
All right. I want you to be let's be a little bit more precise about what we're doing. So what's the probability? How do you calculate the probability here? What do you do?
So for this part that goes into it, half of it is going to go down here to form the 1/4, and half of it's going to go over here and add with the half that comes down from here.
Okay.
So that's a half of a half plus a half of a half.
Okay.
That's just 1/2.
All right.
It's a 4th plus a 4th.
Okay.
Then half of the 4th goes down to make the 1/8. Half of it comes in here, so we have an 1/8, and then plus a 4th, which is 3/8. And since our picture is symmetrical here, we know that this is 3/8 as well.
Okay.
Then we have 1/16 plus 3/16, which is 4/16, or 1/4. And then 3/8 plus 3/8 over 2 is going to be just 3/8. And then here, all of the 1/8 has to come down, because there's nowhere for it to go this way.
Okay.
So we have 3/16 plus 2/16, 1/8, which is going to be 5/16.
Okay.
Then 1/16 plus 1/4 over 2, so 1/32 plus 1/8.
Sorry about that.
Alright, so 1/4 plus 1/16 divided by 2 is going to be 1/8 plus 1/64. So 9/64. That's 1/4 plus 1/16 is 5/16.
Okay. Explain to me what you're doing here.
So because the 16, all the 16 has to come over.
Okay.
So it's an 1/8 plus a 16th. So that's 3/16. 1/8 plus 1/16. And then we know here, this is a normal one where half of the 4th, so an 1/8 plus 3/16, which is 5/16. And then here all of the 5/16 comes down, plus 3/16. This is 8 over 16, which is 1/2.
So that's the 5/16 coming down, and then a 3/16 coming from there. Okay. All right.
So that means the probability of getting to C is going to be 5/32 plus a half, which is 21/32.
Okay.
And then 5/32 plus 6/32 is 11/32. And then this is just 1, since you have to get to B.
Okay. Now, one thing I wanted to point out is that on the diagonals, this is after 1 step, this is after 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps. What do you notice on those diagonals?
So the probabilities, they're getting kind of smaller, but they're kind of gravitating toward one probability.
What do you mean?
Well, so like on this row, it's more likely that you'll be here
Okay.
than any of these other two.
All right. Anything else you notice on these diagonals?
Well, they all add up to 1.
Okay, why?
Because you have to be somewhere on the diagonal after that step.
Okay. These are the only places you can get after 3 steps. So this is a way to sort of check your work and see that everything's correct. So for example, in this one, it's 5/16 plus 6/16. So that's 11/16
Mm-hmm.
plus 4/16 plus 1/16 is 1. So you know you're okay. But anyway, so we got to 21/32. And that is indeed the correct probability. So, good work, Ken. It's a tricky problem. It's a tricky problem.